Why in the news? Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure, CDI, released the first biennial report on global infrastructure titled Global Infrastructure Resilience, Capturing the Resilience Dividend. What is infrastructure resilience? Infrastructure. Infrastructure is defined by the UN as the physical structures, facilities, networks, and other assets which provide services that are essential to the social and economic functioning of a community or society. Resilience. Resilience is the ability to prevent, resist, absorb, adapt, respond, and recover positively, efficiently, and effectively when faced with a wide range of risks while maintaining an acceptable level of functioning. Dimensions. O. Resilient infrastructure. Infrastructure that can absorb, respond to, and recover from hazard events and shocks. O. Infrastructure for resilience. Infrastructure that supports broader social and economic or systemic resilience without generating or accumulating new systemic risk. Global infrastructure risks and the need for infrastructure resilience. Obsolescence of infrastructure. Many countries, particularly those that industrialized prior to World War II, need to replace obsolete infrastructure assets. Weak infrastructure governance. Socioeconomic development in lower-income countries is constrained by large infrastructure deficits being aggravated by weak infrastructure governance. O. Deficient planning and design, inadequate standards, ineffective regulation and compliance, and low levels of investment characterize weak infrastructure governance. Systemic risks. Systemic risks such as climate change and biodiversity loss can be considered existential, as they threaten the habitability of the planet. O. International agreements for climate change mitigation mandate a rapid transition from carbon-locked-in infrastructure to low, zero, or negative emission infrastructure. Developmental benefits. Investing to strengthen infrastructure resilience could set countries on a development trajectory characterized by quality and dependable essential services, reduce damage to infrastructure assets, lowered systemic risk, and sustainable development goals. Disproportionate impact. The resources required in low and middle-income countries, LMICs, for infrastructure resilience are at least one order of magnitude greater than current investment. Infrastructure finance. Recent estimates of the annual investment required to address infrastructure deficits, achieve the SDGs, and achieve net zero by 2050 amount to $9.2 trillion. O. In the coming years, it is expected that just 4 countries, China, India, Japan, and USA, will account for 50% of total global infrastructure investment. Nature-based infrastructure solutions, NBIS. NBIS refer to practices that concurrently protect and provide infrastructure, adapt to climate change, promote environmental integrity and biodiversity, and provide social well-being. If widely adopted, they can play a crucial role in strengthening resilience. 58 www.vision. Safeguarding traditional infrastructure, NBIS can be used to complement, substitute, or safeguard traditional grey infrastructure, thus representing a paradigm shift towards building with nature. Low cost, NBIS cost, on average, only 51% of grey infrastructure projects. Reducing carbon emissions, NBIS also reduce carbon emissions across infrastructure life cycles, which will enable avoiding land use change and extending infrastructure lifespans. Socioeconomic outcomes, NBIS increases opportunities for women's involvement in decision-making and governance, particularly in rural areas. O. It has the potential to create an estimated 59 million jobs by 2030. O. Widespread adoption of NBIS would influence the achievement of SDGs. Challenges for integrating NBIS. Knowledge requirement. NBIS require new interdisciplinary knowledge and skill sets that traditional engineers and architects do not necessarily possess. Lack of research. Rarely can one find research that quantifies ecosystem services, integrates nature-based values into modeling and cost-benefit accounting, and facilitates the design of NBIS. Lack of risk assessment. Without a credible and robust risk identification process, it is impossible to identify the resilience dividends that can accrue through adopting NBIS. Politically unattractive. NBIS may sometimes be unattractive politically precisely because it reduces opportunities for privatized profits. Gestation period. NBIS is often a slow solution in a context where many infrastructure requirements need quick action. Integrating NBIS. Research. Carefully reviewed, curated, up-to-date, multilingual and publicly available research, libraries, design standards, and case studies are essential. O. All countries, particularly LMICs, will need national centers of excellence in NBIS. Outcome-linked NBIS. Linking NBIS monitoring to the achievement of the SDG and the global common goals may facilitate its greater uptake. Regulation. Effective legislation to protect and enhance ecosystems is necessary to encourage greater investment in NBIS. Rating systems. Rating tools can serve as a market signal for resilience or sustainability and provide verified examples of good practice. 59 www. O. For example, GRIHA, Green Rating for Integrated Habitat Assessment, in India. Global standards. Prescriptive global standards for NBIS could provide a pathway for greater project financing. Financing incentives. Integrating NBIS into existing pipelines of grey infrastructure delivery systems can be a way to achieve scale, reduce loss and damage to infrastructure assets, and prevent loss of biodiversity. Conclusion. The long design life cycles of many infrastructure assets will be key to making investments resilient and configure development trajectories in the decades to come. At the same time, strengthening infrastructure resilience is critical to address existential risks associated with catastrophic climate change and biodiversity loss.